I would like to make an investment case for my country. I'm not the CEO of Mauritius Inc. I'm only the CEO of the Financial Services Commission, which is the integrated regulator for all non-banking financial services in Mauritius, but also the regulator for what we call the global business sector. We used to call it the offshore sector, we now call it the global business sector. So basically, I'm going to talk to you about the Mauritius International Financial Center. And I'm happy that the previous panel has already introduced the subject when Gilles de Villemont from Pricewaterhouse told you that Mauritius is one of the free countries in Africa where you can consider setting up a holding company. You can do business in Mauritius, and we have attracted a lot of foreign direct investment over the last 5 years. In fact, we have attracted more FDI over the last 5 years than we've had over the preceding 20 years. But you can also do business with the rest of the world from Mauritius. And I will be talking only about how you can structure your international investments, and particularly your African investments, from the Mauritius International Financial Center. We started what we then called offshore business in the late 80s and early 90s. And we really managed to take off as an IFC thanks to the treaty which we have with India. Fortunately for us, the setting up of an international financial center in Mauritius coincided with the opening up of the Indian economy. And suddenly everyone realized that there was a DTA which we had signed about 10 years prior to the opening up of the Indian economy, and which had been very little used. And this was probably the best DTA which India had with any country. And we managed to attract a lot of investments going into India, essentially because of the capital gains provision in the treaty. The treaty, in fact, provides that capital gains is taxed in the country of residence, and there is no capital gains tax in Mauritius, and therefore Mauritius became a very attractive place for structuring Indian investments. Today, Mauritius is seen essentially as a platform for structuring investments into Asia, not only India. China is now second to India in terms of destination of funds from Mauritius. We also have a very good treaty with China. But we see ourselves in the years to come not only as an IFC of choice for structuring investments into Asia, but also an IFC of choice for structuring investments into Africa. Mauritius is an African jurisdiction, as the earlier panel pointed out. We are a member of various African regional organizations. We are a member of SADC. We are also a member of COMESA. We are one of the 2 countries to be members of both SADC and COMESA. Mauritius has always had very strong links to Africa. We also happen to have a mixed legal system. We have both English and French law in Mauritius, and therefore we are familiar with the 2 leading legal systems in Africa. Mauritius is a bilingual country. We speak English and French. And again, these are the 2 leading languages in Africa. Our professionals in Mauritius have been working with Africa for a very long time, and therefore we have a good understanding of the African market. So let me tell you how Mauritius can be used for structuring investments in Africa. We have, as I just told you, what we call the global business sector. And basically, the law defines global business, or rather, the law provides that you qualify for what we call a global business license if you are a Mauritian company, that is, you are incorporated in Mauritius, and you are conducting business outside Mauritius. This is how we have simplified the definition in the amendment which we brought to the law in 2007. So you are incorporated in Mauritius as a company, and our company law is basically English law, or you can be incorporated in Mauritius as a French société, because we have French law as well in Mauritius, or you can be a trust. We are introducing a new limited partnership legislation later this year, and we are also going to have a new foundation law later this year, so you can also be structured as a limited partnership, or you can be structured as a foundation, and you can then apply for a global business license if you're conducting business outside Mauritius. But we also promote Mauritius as a jurisdiction of substance, unlike many other international financial centers across the world, which means that when you are incorporated in Mauritius and you hold a global business license in Mauritius, then you must be administered at all times by a management company in Mauritius. You need to have at least 2 resident directors in Mauritius, and you can conduct your all your back office work from Mauritius. You can employ people in the country. You can do research in Mauritius. But as long as the ultimate purpose of the company is an investment outside Mauritius, you still qualify for a global business license. And basically, what the global business license will entail is that you will be taxed like other Mauritian companies at 15%. We've got a flat rate of 15% for both individual and corporate tax in Mauritius. But as a global business company, you are entitled to what is known as a deemed foreign tax credit of 80%, which means that the effective tax rate will be 3%. So for all global business companies in Mauritius, it's a 3% tax, but it can in fact be 0 depending on the actual amount of foreign tax credit that you are entitled to. Now, we have also adopted in 2007 a comprehensive legal framework for collective investment schemes. And as a result of the new legal framework for funds, we now have about 600 global funds which are domiciled in Mauritius. We have something like 30,000 global business companies in the country, but out of these 30,000 global business companies, there are at the moment about 600 of them which are structured as collective investment schemes. And these global funds are promoted mainly by European and US investors. Many of them are investing in India and China, but in recent years, we've had a number of Africa funds also being set up in Mauritius. And the interesting thing with the Africa funds is that unlike the other funds, which were mainly treaty-driven, because Mauritius has got a very wide treaty network, the Africa funds were not necessarily treaty-driven. The main reason for the funds being domiciled in Mauritius was very often the fact that the investors were looking for an African jurisdiction to incorporate the fund, and they found that Mauritius is the best African jurisdiction in terms of the legal and regulatory framework, but also in terms of the tax regime for incorporating the fund. By the way, I must say that we have about 20 treaties with African jurisdictions, and we are negotiating a number of new treaties with about 10 other African jurisdictions at the moment. So we want to see more fund work in Mauritius as opposed to holding companies, because obviously this brings more value addition. And we have always positioned Mauritius as an IFC of repute. This has been a major consideration for us right from the outset. We like to consider Mauritius as an IFC which is fully compliant with international norms. We always make sure that we update our legislation so that we can incorporate all international norms. We have been subject already to 2 FSAPs, that's the Financial Sector Assessment Program of the IMF and the World Bank, and we've always been ranked as being fully compliant on most international norms. And Mauritius is also ranked very high on various international competitiveness indexes, and I would like to conclude with just a few of the rankings which we are honored to have, and since I'm the last speaker in this last session, I hope I can ask for your indulgence and make a short sales pitch for my country. So let me just give you some of these rankings. In the Global Competitiveness Index 2010-2011, Mauritius ranks 55th out of 139 countries. In terms of the Economic Freedom Index, Mauritius ranks 12th out of 179 countries. And on both the Global Competitiveness Index and the Economic Freedom Index, we rank first in Africa. The Doing Business Report 2010, and again, this is based on 179 countries across the world. So this is, we ranked 10th in the world for ease of starting a business. We rank 12th out of 179 countries for protecting investors. And again, on both these indexes, we rank first in Africa. We are also first on the Meetarbhan Index of African Governance 2009. And we rank 6th worldwide. This is out of 163 countries for the Environmental Performance Index. This is 2010. Since I know that there are many of you from stock exchanges in the audience, let me just say a final word about stock exchanges in Mauritius. Of course, my colleague Sunil Benimadu from the stock exchange already talked about the Mauritian stock exchange this morning, but let me tell you that we now have two stock exchanges in Mauritius. We've had the stock exchange of Mauritius, which was set up in 1988, but we have now licensed another exchange which is going to be operational as from next month, and this is known as the Global Board of Trade. It's a multi-asset class exchange, but essentially it's going to be a Pan-African commodities exchange. This is an exchange which is promoted by MCX, which is the leading commodities exchange of India. We don't have commodities in Mauritius, so it's not going to be trading in any Mauritian commodities. It is going to be an electronic platform for trading commodities, essentially for the African market. So we are going to have two exchanges, as I said, and we are also going to have a currency derivatives exchange, which is going to be run by Djibouti later this year.
Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.